joy. It's on the way. It's on the way. Just have a little faith. Just have a little faith. Just have a little faith. The sound of a mustard seed. Yeah, it is. It's on the way. Your healing is on the way. Oh, your praise is on the way. It's on the way. Believe me. Just have no faith. Just have no faith. Just have no faith. Just have no faith. It's on the way. It's on the way. He will see you through. It's on the way. Whatever it is you action for, it's on the way. It's on the way. Tell yourself it's on the way. No matter what the devil say, it's on the way. All right, Omaha, the birds are blessed. We got our next show coming up. We're going to thank you for chiming in this morning with the Boss Morning Show. My man, Tim Clark. Coming up next, moving people to action. We got a very special guest. We know we touched on a little bit of mental health earlier. And we always refer to our community expert, Charles Drew, since they're located right here in North Omaha. But if you're in South Omaha, you know we got One World. If you're in West Omaha, Boys Town is in that area. But you also can call 988 if you need any resources regarding mental health. So what's going on, Tim? How you doing this morning, bro?
Man. Hey, I feel good, man. Got a little feel good in this morning. I call it be good to yourself. That's what you really should kick your morning off with. So early this morning, I was up before anybody was up, working out, man, and getting that feel good in, releasing some negative toxins and all that good stuff.
Right.
So all is good, man.
Well, good. Well, you got a very special guest. They call him the Beard too. I think they call him the Beard too. You better pass that ball, though.
The silver.
Yeah. You better pass that ball. I don't know if he's a lefty. I don't know if he's a lefty or not.
Yeah, I never saw a shot I didn't like either.
Okay. Well, so hey, you got a very special guest and a great man and doing great work over at Charles Drew. You know what I mean? Because we talk about mental health all the time. And coming out of this pandemic, I think everybody needs someone to talk to.
That's right on. That's right.
So I'm gonna let you do what you do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Moving People to Action, MP to Action. And really what we try to do is listen, learn, and act. I want to thank my guest, Ted Lampkin, for stopping by the studio this morning. And I was just thinking, Ted, in light of really when you think about this season and the holiday, some would say, not all, but it's the most wonderful time of the year, and you get this warm feeling and love and gifts and all that kind of stuff. And really what I wanted to really begin this morning, this Wednesday, as we look at Wednesday being kind of just a hump day, getting us through, to really have you talk a little bit about maybe some nuggets, some tips, a little bit of insight in terms of as people look at celebrating we just got through Thanksgiving. Now we're coming upon Christmas and New Year's Eve and all those kind of things. what comes with that? There's a lot of joy, right?
Yes.
But there's some pain too that
Yes,
comes with
indeed.
that.
Yes, indeed.
Talk to us about some things that people may need to look out for that sometimes will contribute to some of those pain points as they're trying to make this the most wonderful time of the year. Talking about anxiety, stress, depression. How do we prevent ourselves from falling and slipping down that deep hole?
Well, first of all, Tim, thanks for having me on. And I want to commend you on keeping up with your self care.
Well, thanks, man.
Your morning workout, for example, this morning, you feel better. You know, that's a part of your self care routine that I know that you've been doing for quite some time. So I commend you on that. And also just thanks for having me on the show. It's
Right
always
on, right
always
on.
nice to sit down and chat with you about mental health and other various issues. As we approach this holiday season, like you said, it should
Yeah.
be the most wonderful time of the year. But unfortunately, it's not always that's not always the case for some people.
Right on.
Oftentimes the holidays trigger different folks depression, anxiety. If you've suffered a loss of a loved one throughout the year or anything like that, or if you've had some tragedy during the holiday season in the past year, sometimes that will trigger folks' anxiety and depression. I remember looking over my social media during Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
and a lot of folks were commenting on how they missed people, how they were depressed during this time.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it should be the most wonderful time of the year, and we try to create that Christmas spirit, that holiday season spirit. But for everyone, that's just not the case.
Right.
You asked what were some things that people can do to make sure they don't slip into a depressed mode or having excessive anxiety during this time of
Right.
the year. And I'll just say we all have anxiety during
That's right.
Christmas season, during the holiday
Yeah. Oh,
season,
yeah.
you know, the shuffle and the hustle and bustle of the season and making sure that we are buying our children's gifts and friends gifts.
So
and-
that would you say, Ted, that's a natural? I mean, like you said we all have anxiety.
yeah.
And that's kind of a natural kind of thing, but it's really the coping skills. How do we cope with it
Yes.
to where it just, you know,
we most people
spin
have a
out of
certain level
control.
of anxiety during the holiday season, but when it becomes to a level where it is impacting your daily living, we say in the mental health world, when things start impacting your daily life, your daily living, then that's when it becomes really a problem where you might need to seek a mental health therapist or talk to someone that you trust that might be able to help you through that.
So you said, you know, if it gets to a point where you feel this spinning out of control, maybe seek professional. I mean, this whole thing of, especially in the Black community and some minority communities, just folks just really feel this, you know, mental health therapist is kind of a taboo kind of a thing. How do we break through that that ideal that seeking help is a sign of strength versus just not a sign of weakness?
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the African American community, we have a stigma that we're dealing with in terms of mental health that goes all the way back to slavery.
Right.
So it goes back to when we were told that we were not man enough to have feelings, to be depressed, to be anxious because we weren't man enough or one
So we were
third
just
of
machines.
right. So we
Yeah.
weren't allowed
man.
to have those feelings of depression, anxiety because we were one third of a man or however they used to say that we were. So the stigma goes all the way back to then. So you
Yeah.
have to understand that. But I see this younger generation of folks. The younger generation of folks are going to therapy. They are. So the stigma, we are breaking the stigma. Younger folks are starting to get into therapy at a higher rate. Even a lot of older folks are getting into therapy as well.
Yeah. So anxiety, stress, and even during this time, because we talked about someone maybe experiencing depression because of loss of a loved one. This is the first Christmas or holiday season without a loved one. Also dealing with suicidal thoughts. Give maybe some resources, because one of the things moving people to action, really our theme is how do we listen, learn, and then get people to act or move. I mean, could they call somebody? There's a website that they can visit. Suicidal thoughts. They're slipping into this depression, and they may need help. How do we get them some help?
Yeah, well, obviously, my first line of resource is going to be Charles Drew Health Center. I'm the Associate Behavioral Health Director at Charles Drew Health Center. We have a team of 14 therapists that are spread out throughout the North Omaha community that can help with such things.
Okay.
So contact us at Charles Drew Health Center if you are feeling depressed, anxious, or having suicidal thoughts. Typically, we can get you into an appointment within 2 to 3 days.
Right.
And if you're in crisis mode where you're like feeling suicidal, we probably can get you in within 24
Right.
hours. So
And I mean, if it's a right now kind of situation, would you suggest they call 911? I mean, too. If
yeah,
you
I
kind of
would
just,
if you are feeling suicidal, you're actively feeling suicidal.
yeah,
I would say go to your nearest local emergency room
yeah,
right away.
right
Yes.
away. That's, I'm not saying that it's a normal thing to feel suicidal. Something has to get, I would think, get you there. And we maybe talk a little bit about the buildup and maybe some symptoms or some signs that we can maybe identify along the way to say, wow, before, because sometimes, how do you get it, Ted, to the point where it's almost at a point of no return? So how do we catch it
Right.
along the way? What are I mean, when you think about, when you said anxiety, stress, depression, what are some of those indicators that this is probably we should stop, breathe, and really look at how do I dial this down?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and some of the signs, I know you mentioned signs that you can look for, and oftentimes you don't see any of the signs.
Wow.
Oftentimes when folks are commit suicide, you ask people and they say, "Well, I didn't see any signs. He was happy. He
That's
was,
true. Wow.
all the things that you look for just weren't there." But sometimes people do display, they do
Yeah.
give off some signs that they might be suicidal. The first sign is they might tell you. They might
Mm.
say, "Hey, I want to kill myself, or I feel like killing myself." Another sign would be isolation.
Okay.
Uh, Someone isolating themselves who used to be more active and do things. Now they're isolating themselves in their home.
And that let's stay there for a minute. That isolation. So if you're saying, like, you're used to seeing somebody on a regular basis, or you're used to seeing this fellowship and socialization, and all of a sudden it just disappears, that could be a sign that this person could be dealing with something or a situation. And when that happens, what should you do if you're in that circle? I mean, what
Yeah.
should you do?
Yeah, and sometimes isolation doesn't always equal suicide. It
That's
could
right.
just it could
That's right.
just be depressed.
They want to break from me
Right,
or something,
right.
right? From the circle.
But it could
Okay.
be
Right. Right.
it's definitely a sign of
Right.
depression,
Right.
isolating yourself. And people don't realize when you isolate yourself, you start to slip into a deeper depressed mode.
Mm.
Um, so in order to get out of that, you have to stop isolating yourself and get back to doing the things that you
Yeah.
typically like to do. But if you have friends or family who you notice are
Mhm.
isolating themselves, uh, the first thing you could do is check on them. Go by their
There you
house,
go.
check on them, call them, and just
They
say,
call it a
hey,
wellness
a,
check.
a wellness check. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or what
yeah.
we call it in our community, a bro check.
A bro check. Okay, okay, okay.
So yeah, so Tim, if you're isolated,
Wellness bro
yeah.
check.
So if you're isolating yourself, Tim, I'm going to call you and do a bro check on you. I'm going to call
Okay.
you. Say, hey, bro, what's
There you
up? I
go.
haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? I
Yeah.
just want to lay eyes on you, see if you're good.
Yeah.
Let's get out. Let's do something. So just
Yeah.
checking up on your folks is a good way to do that.
And that's a good point there, Ted. This, call it a bro check, wellness check, whatever you call it. But that's just some simple things we can do as individuals. And I tell you, in the last 3 years, man, with COVID and so many loved ones of folks here one day and gone the next day, is just if they come front of mind, I really pause and I take the time, and I that's just part of really my outreach. If Ted comes to mind today, I'm going to reach out and call you. And sometimes it's just simple as this. I don't want anything, Ted. You came front of him, and I've been practicing this since COVID. I'm just, hey, you know what? You're on my mind. I just want to check on you and say hi. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I just want to hear your voice. And I got some folks, in my circle that I call them sometimes, man. I just wanted to hear your voice. That's kind of like my morning coffee.
Right.
My morning coffee, right?
And those things go a long way with people. You may not know it or they might not tell you, but that goes a long way. Just knowing that someone is thinking about you and wanted to call you and let you know that, hey, I'm thinking about you, want to see how you're doing, hadn't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
So that goes a long way.
So as we transition, I know you're short on time this morning, but really some action things. Let's think of now some things that our listeners and our viewers can do. I want to just play off with just what we talked about. One of the action items and challenges that I'm going to really put out there is just call and check on some folks. Make the call, start today. You don't have to wait until Christmas or a holiday. Just do wellness checks, as Ted would say, a bro check. or what do you do for the females? I don't know. I was thinking about that. What do we call that? The sisterhood check.
A chick check.
A chick check. Chick check. Right. But to the point, that's action. That's something you can do today. Somebody that you haven't been in touch with for a while, just call, especially elderly, our older folks. Let's just check on them. And I think not only just phone, but just and these days, man, it's hard to just say, hey, I was just in the neighborhood. I just dropped by, We don't really do a lot of that back like we used to grow up.
Back in the day. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones
then. So we'd be in the neighborhood.
Yeah, now you better not go by anybody's house without calling first. You might get cussed out.
Don't come by the house without calling. Right. What's some other action as we talk about and finishing up this segment in terms of around wellness, bro checks, sisterhood check, or whatever? What are some action things that people can actually do?
Yeah. So in addition to the stuff that we talked about, just being more active, I know, Tim, you're big on being active now. So just being more active and just moving around, doing things within the community. Like this past Saturday, I went to Christmas in the Village. Took a couple of my nieces and nephews with me and had a really good time. And that was, kind of got me in the Christmas spirit. Yeah. So get out, get in the community, do some things, avoid isolating yourself, as we talked about, and talk. Like if something's bothering you, talk to someone that you trust, that you can talk with. If you're not comfortable talking to a mental health therapist, talk to someone you trust, a good friend, a parent, a pastor, whoever it is in the community that you trust, that you can talk to, talk.
And sometimes I find, Ted, that it's easier sometimes to talk to strangers because that it's a very neutral kind of thing. They don't know you, you don't know them, and But to your point, getting out. I told one of my buddies, um, that man, I know he works hard. He works hard, extremely hard. But I just say, man, go out and breathe, get some fresh air, and go to the mall and just walk in the mall. I remember I took my dad to lunch this week, and we just went to a restaurant. I would call the name, but they ain't paying no bills here. So, but we went to a restaurant, and just after we ate, we wasn't in no rush. We sat around and fellowship with people that we hadn't seen in a long time, and just people watch. But it was just an opportunity for a senior citizen to get out.
Right.
We
Right.
got to get out. We don't touch each other. Let's do an example. Like, brother, we don't touch each other. I think, as you know, in terms of just, it has a healing effect. We don't embrace COVID. Almost stopped all the hugs. In
Right.
our circle, we got a hugger.
Right, right.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing. As a grown ass man, I don't even know if I can say that, but I said it. But we don't hug enough
Right.
as men. And what this younger brother, came into our circle and basically has really created a culture that we now we I don't want to put his name out there, but we named the hug his hug.
Right.
Right?
Right.
When you really think about the power of him changing the culture of men, saying, let's now not only do the brother man dab, but I need a hug.
Right. Right.
And
that has been infectious,
man,
because
isn't
now
that
we all do it
infectious?
with each other.
We do it with each other. So I think one person can spark and create that. That started with one person
Right. Right.
on our team that said, man, I need a hug today.
Yeah. And it's okay for Black men to show affection towards
That's
each other.
right.
Yeah.
And we just, and I think this whole back in the day, or this toughness that we don't want to show emotion, we don't want to cry. We got so many tears, I think, in us that's bagged up.
Right.
We almost need monthly cry days.
Right.
Where we just
Well, if you
just
don't get it out,
cry.
it comes out in other ways.
That's right.
It comes out through aggression. It comes out through depression, anxiety, all those things that we've been talking about. It will come out eventually.
That's right. Well, any other action things before we close this part, Ted, that you can think of? So we said, hey, get out, breathe, deep breaths, infection, show some love, hug. I think it's okay. Do it safely. I know we're in a season where folks colds and the flu and things like that, but we can do it safely.
Practice self-care. So find
Yeah.
something that you like to do, something that you typically enjoy, and make sure you're doing that. So if you enjoy playing basketball, go out, shoot some hoops. If you
Yeah.
enjoy playing spades with your friends,
Yeah.
do that. Ladies, if you enjoy getting your hair and nails done, get that done. So all that is part of self-care
Yeah.
that makes us feel better, that helps us not slip
Yeah.
into a depressed mode.
Now, what do you do for self-care? I'm sorry for you on the spot like that. I mean, what do you do? But I know you got some.
When it's nice out, I like to play golf.
Yeah,
I like to travel.
Yeah.
I like to shop. So all those things, you're hanging out with
Yeah.
the guys,
And bike. I seen you on your bike.
Yes,
Sometimes.
biking, doing some
Yeah,
biking
yeah.
when it's nice out. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of my self-care
Yeah.
routine.
I tell you, one of mine, man, is I got to have a pedicure. I do that once a month.
Okay.
And I do a massage once a month. I
Nice.
just think that whole thing of somebody touching you and helping to release some of those negative toxins in your body is so therapeutic for me.
Mhm.
And that's how I kind of get into my energy, and I think
Right.
like you're saying, self-care
Right.
is a action item. And I think you got to spend time figuring out what are those, points where you can relieve and focus on self-care. That's about you. It's about taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And that's also one of the signs to look for people who are slipping into depression. If I know Tim likes XYZ and he's no longer doing those things, that's a sign where I can say, "Hey Tim, I know, normally you like to do this, and you haven't done that in some time."
That's right. And you get, I know for me, I mean, because we're not all perfect. I mean, we're it's just we're work in progress. I know I am, but I get stuck, with some of those self-care things. Right. To your point, I get stuck sometimes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm stuck. How do I get out of this? I mean, there's so much opportunity in front of you. You may not be riding bike or working out. You just get in this slump. I think for folks and your friends, I think the action part of it is how do you help each other get out of it?
Right.
Like you said, hey, I haven't seen you, or I haven't seen you do this. You haven't talked about doing this.
Right.
And so there's ways that I think life is a team sport. Johnny Rogers was on before this segment, and one of the things he says all the time, if you can do it by yourself, it's just not big enough.
Right.
Right. And I think life is like that.
Yeah, we all need a support system.
We need a support system. We need a mentor. I had dinner with my wife and I had dinner with my one of my mentors this week, and it was just beautiful, to be able to sit down, have dinner, and have conversation with someone that you look up to as a mentor. And at this rightful age of 58, I think we all mentoring across a lifetime. And that's something that the 100 Black Men, one of their get ups and themes is mentoring across a lifetime. We all need mentors. And as another action item, Ted, I would most definitely challenge folks out there, if you don't have a mentor, identify one.
Right.
Yeah.
Mentor. Yeah. So the last action item I would recommend again is call Charles Drew Health Center.
Okay.
If you are feeling anxious, depressed, if you have any type of mental health issue going on, you can give us a call. We can get you scheduled. As you know, also at Charles Drew Health Center, we also have medical and dental, and we also have a pharmacy. So we have quite a few different service lines at Charles Drew Health Center, but specifically, if you're looking for mental health services, Charles Drew Health Center can help you with that.
Yeah. And Charles Drew Health Center as well. We most definitely have to talk to the leadership there about sponsoring this MPT action, because we do need a constant contributor as it relates to health and wellness. But you need a medical home. If you don't have if you went through 2023 without a medical home, and from a clinical terminology, Ted, what do we mean by medical home? Having a medical home.
A medical home is somewhere where you can go, where you have your own primary care physician that can take care of your needs there. We have a pharmacy. Again, we have behavioral health services, dental. So a medical home is where your primary care is being taken care of. Unfortunately, in the African American community, sometimes we resort on using the emergency room for everything. Well, you don't really have to do that if you have a medical home. My primary care physician is at Charles Drew Health Center.
Right on.
So Dr. Gupta, shout out to Dr. Gupta.
Dr. Gupta.
She's really good. So I trust myself with the services at Charles Drew Health Center. And that's my medical home. I go there for medical services with Dr. Gupta.
That's good. And I tell you, you have Dr. Gupta, I have Dr. Howden, and I've been with him over 35 years.
Wow.
The same doctor, almost 30 years, getting to know each other. And so that medical home is so crucial when you're trying to be preventative and intervening in medical conditions that you got somebody that's paying attention to you, that's going to manage that
Right.
care.
Right.
And so both my heart condition was largely discovered by my medical home, my medical doctor, personal doctor. Um, my prostate cancer, in he was able to manage me through that, all because of relationship. I built a 30-year relationship with this doctor. And sometimes I know, Ted, it's easier said than done when we say, okay, everybody should have a medical home, that somebody that they go and see on a consistent basis. But it also takes insurance, and it takes insurance. And I think Charles Drew, that's where Charles Drew become a very good alternative or a source.
Yes, we help serve the underinsured and uninsured. So if you do not have insurance, we do provide sliding fee scale services based on your income. So we also will help you get qualified for Medicaid or various other insurances that you might qualify for. We do for behavioral health services. We do have some grant funding through Region 6,
Yeah.
where if you do not have insurance, and again, it's all based on your income, we can help you get qualified for services for as little as no cost. So we do have some resources at Charles Drew Health Center that can help you either get insurance or obtain medical services for a minimal fee.
And that's where, Ted, it's just, we should really stop coming up with excuses. There's enough resources out here for preventative care and intervention if need be. But you gotta, I need help. You gotta
Right.
raise your hand,
Right.
or you gotta seek it out. Sometimes it's just not going to come to you. And so, some of our upcoming shows, I really want to focus. One of that's really four of our four pillars for MP to Action. Wellness is one of them, and so I hope I can count on you, Ted, to be a consistent, ongoing contributor to MP to Action.
Definitely.
I don't know budget yet, but
We'll talk about that later too.
with the offline. But then also we're going to be having my good man Doug Washington, that's going to be coming on talking about chemical dependency.
Yeah, Doug is very good. He does more so the substance abuse stuff. 2024, I'm going to be partnering with Doug on some things.
That's
so
nice. That's
I'm looking forward to doing that.
That's awesome.
But Doug is one of the gurus in North Omaha when it comes to substance abuse and chemical dependency.
Right on. And then I see my good man Marcus Himes with Heart Ministries, and so it's just a plethora of resources in this community. If you choose to wake up, open your eyes, listen, open your mouth, ask for help.
Without a doubt,
we can get through this. We can get through this together. And I don't think life was meant to go along by yourself. I think it's about how do you bring people along with you and create the kind of energy that's going to help you as an individual, so you can help build community and this collective impact that we all can have.
Right.
Thanks again, man.
Thank
Ted.
you.
Right on.
Always a pleasure.
Right on. So, hey, we're gonna I'm going to head and we're going to transition, Ted. Let you get to your next meeting, and then let's look at getting you back on, hopefully sooner than later.
Will do.
Thank
I can
you,
commit to doing that.
Right on.
All right,
right
thanks.
on, Ted. So as you can see, we spent some time really talking about mental health, and the kind of things that hopefully gave you some ideas of how to help you or help a loved one or a friend through that, especially as we get, as Ted talked about, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, all those kind of things that um, causes pain points for yourself, but also people around you. And I just think we got to really uh, get past this idea that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength. How do you get better if you don't take the time to ask for help? So, wellness is important. As I deal with my challenges with diabetes, I'm coming actually tomorrow be my 1 year anniversary of having my prostate removed. I had prostate cancer, and I must say, it's most definitely not a sprint. It's been a marathon, a journey of really getting to know my body, getting to know myself, and what I would really, I think most of all through this journey is I've learned to listen to myself. And as we move into finishing up this year and moving into next year, as far as our New Year resolutions, our goals, and hitting the reset button, one of the things that I would challenge you to do, to put as a priority, is listen more. Listen more to yourself first. Because sometimes people, I was with a friend of mine's and they were saying, well, I really don't know kind of my purpose and my gift. And there's a lot of people out there that is dealing with that. They're adults and they still chasing and trying to discover their purpose and their gift. Uh, I think to get closer to it, I think we got to take the time to listen to ourselves in quiet places, yoga, meditating more, and really doing research around what techniques for um, meditating, and maybe taking some yoga classes. And one of the things that part of that listening is breathing. And I would really encourage you to go join my page on social media, Facebook. It's called Breathe With Me. Breathe with me. And really, I'm teaching. Some of you may not know, but I attended University of South Dakota, where I specialized in voice. I was a performing major and really voice major, and so I used to also teach voice as well. But breathing is, as we all know, is this thing called life, right? You must breathe. But what happens typically for the average person is we do very shallow breathing. We don't breathe deep enough. There's so much healing, there's so much energy in breathing if you breathe properly. And so, what I just did, I took a deep breath before I started speaking. Most people, they speak, they sing, they do activity, working out, whatever kind of activity you do. You should do the activity to be able to strengthen your resolve in doing whatever you do. You must properly breathe first. You must properly breathe first. So taking a deep breath in through the nose, I'm able to support my voice tones better. I don't really fall short of breath because I'm not supported. I don't have enough breath that in which I didn't breathe in. So it's taking a time to breathe in deeply through your nose and then exhale through your mouth. So we breathe to speak, we breathe to sing, we breathe to exercise. We should breathe to do all activities that we do. It starts off by inhaling enough air and getting a very strong, what I call a strong, deep belly breath and deep belly breathing. And this is all in line with our theme for this morning in terms of wellness, self care, and that's important. Now, one would say, what are you listening for? Somebody, like they, you get them in a quiet room, right? And they like, you, Mr. Clark, Tim, Doug, Reggie. You're like, what the heck? What are we listening for, Marcus? Roy, what are we listening for, Greg? What we're listening for is the force, the universe to speak to us. And if we listen long enough and with purpose and intent, the forces of this universe will speak to you and give you the path and order your steps in the direction of that path in which you should go. I dare you for 2024. Don't wait for 24. Start now so it can give you what you need to create a better path and direction for 2024. Stop, breathe, and listen. Some say the force, universe. Some that's for you, it could be God. Whatever that force is for you, for me, it's God. I'm listening as they say, God will order your steps. He has ordered your steps. What is it? What do you think in terms of just, there's about 8 billion people on planet Earth. Last I checked. Could be a little bit more, a little less. I don't think God put everybody on this earth with self-will. This is just Tim Clark, my belief system and my opinion. I believe that all of our steps have been ordered. I believe that we've all been giving purpose and a gift. The work is the discovery, Marcus. The work is the discovery of what that is. And then begin to put a plan, Robert, around manifesting. How do you bring it to life? Once you discover what, who, all those kind of things, then the work is, how do you manifest it? How do you grow? How do you nurture that gift and that purpose? And folks would say as well that gift purpose, I believe it will make room for you monetarily. If you wake up and you are manifesting and you're operating within my goal for 2024 is that I want to spend more time operating in my gift and purpose. When I do that, every time I do that, when I look in versus looking out, man, the harvest is plenty. I get a return on my investment because I'm looking in. I'm not trying to build something externally and out. So spending more time operating within your purpose and your gift, especially if you know what that is. I think we got to spend more time. And I just love running into people where, they don't look at their job as a job because they would do it anyway. And a lot of folks that are operating in that way, I believe monetarily they're being taken care of too, because they're waking up, they're happy, because they're fulfilling their God-given purpose. They're fulfilling their God-given purpose. This show is going to take place. We're going to do this every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Please, MP to Action, if you please go like our page, help share this. And really, our goal is to provide the nuggets, the tools that will help people move to action. So MP to Action, that's going to be our reoccurring thing. I'll have subject matter experts, thought leaders that will come on, that will interview only to learn, so we can move, so we can act, so we can um, manifest our destiny. We can manifest our purpose and all of those kind of things. But we got to have the tools and the resources to do that. Hopefully, I'll have some folks on in some of our future episodes or shows that will talk about really what's in front of us now, particularly here in Nebraska and in North Omaha, South Omaha, when it comes to economic empowerment and development. There is a movement that is taking place as I speak, and I think part of it, what I want to spend time on is readiness. How do we prepare more small businesses to take advantage of what's in front of them? How do we prepare more small businesses to take advantage of what's in front of them? That, I believe, is going to be very crucial to the lifeline and stimulating this new 21st century renaissance that could take place here in North Omaha. I think if you're listening and on the outside of Nebraska, I really think you should look at relocating here, with especially in terms of some of these pockets that are so fertile. At the state level, they're working on and better incentives to attract more businesses and more incentives to attract more investment, and especially in some of your economically challenged areas. We need to stimulate that, and we need to buy down the risks of developers that we're trying to attract to come into some of these very blighted, economically challenged areas. So with this, you got close to $300 million set to really support small businesses, organizations, and to help stand up a lot of things that's been neglected for so many years in terms of North Omaha. This is a great opportunity. And so I think when they go low, I'm going to try my best to stay high, right? And so as we look at sorting out these various paths and developing success strategies to really help North Omaha, here in Omaha, Nebraska, South Omaha, really fulfill what should be offered and what should be given an opportunity to create places and spaces to live, work, and play, and experience the American dream of owning your own home and building assets and building wealth. That's what's in front of us. But we got to have the tools and the resources so we can um, maximize the opportunity that's in front of us. Um, Looking at micro certifications, I mean, it's going to be a skill up. We can say all we want to in terms of just these opportunities, these companies coming to North Omaha, coming to Nebraska, and they're looking for what? Skilled laborers, folks with a skill. I think we're past this point where there's one track, where if you graduate from high school and that your next step is a 4-year institution. Not knocking at all 4-year institutions. What I'm saying, we have to put everything on the table. For some people, 4 years is not the path. A 2-year associate degree or a 10-month or less certification in IT, health, wheel industries, manufacturing, um, transportation, CDL. There's so many, there's hundreds of certifications that you can get that will allow you to take care of your family in a meaningful way. 35, 40, $50,000 in some cases is the jump off for a lot of these various certifications. So Reggie, my man Reggie, that's that's what it is. And hopefully, man, we have you come in here on some of these Wednesdays and spend some of that wax, old school style, on the ones and twos. Music is my life. So I will incorporate music into this talk show. MP to Action, moving people to action, will be incorporated into the talk show as well. Some old school, new school. I like all music. And I tell you, one of the persons that really have motivated me when it comes to looking inward and this whole journey. Remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's a journey of wellness. Has been my sister-in-law, Edna, has been very instrumental in motivating me to really recalibrate, hit the reboot, to really focus on wellness, and that's mental first. Before you put anything in your mouth, it's just how do you really begin to feed the brain? Because when you think about managing your weight and things like that, they say 80% of it is what you put in your mouth. And what? That's controlled by this, our thinking, our mind. So how do we feed our mind and condition our mind, Betty, to be able to control what we put in our mouth? If 80% is what we put in our mouth, that's a conditioning, that's a reprogramming of this. Is reprogramming. And I think we got, and that's that meditating. Remember, we go back to listening. How do we listen more so we can get control of this, get control of that mind? I tell you, it's been a long time coming in terms of my ability to walk past donuts in a store or chocolate milk, and to go past a Krispy Kreme donut factory or shop. Man, I have to say, I can report that most times, Mr. King, the boss, Most times I win. Most times. I'm not saying that I win every time, but I say most times I win, Edna. I win. And that's because I'm really disciplined and learning more about what I put in my body. Good in is good out. Bad in is bad out. And so I just think we have to be mindful of that. So before you start, putting together goals for 2024 and your new resolutions, things like that, spend time before you write anything down. Spend some time with yourself, listening, 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 Linda, listening, Betty, listening, my man Bill from USD, listening, Wanda, listening, Greg, listening, Marcus, listening, Steve. Is taking the time to listen and then write. Because what are you listening for? You listening for that path and direction. And believe me, God will order your steps and guide you in terms of what's next for you. And some call it the forces, the universe. But he will help you. He will give you that direction that you're so desiring, you're so looking for. But we gotta listen. That's all for this episode of Moving People to Action. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please put in the comments in terms of just any subject matters that you would like us to identify a expert to come and talk on the show and engage in this type of dialogue, that we listen to learn to act. Until next time, take the time to be good to yourself. I'm out. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in.